Mr. President, distinguished members of the Cabinet and other officials, partners from the development community, members of civil society, the business community, friends, ladies, and gentlemen. I'm very happy to be back in Manila. It's been almost 30 years since my last visit, when I was working on my PhD dissertation that was focused on access to pharmaceuticals. The city and the country have changed so much over that time, especially during President Aquino's 4+ years in office. 30 years ago, it seemed as if I was the only Korean in town. Today, as you say in Tagalog, ang daming nagbago. Ang dami ng Koreano. So, for those who don't speak Tagalog like me, we were just remarking that there are many Koreans here. Today, I'm here to talk about, though, a critical issue facing the Philippines and governments around the world: the imperative of effective governance for ending poverty. President Aquino, this is an issue that you have placed at the heart of your political agenda. It's a theme that inspires the practitioners, scholars, business leaders, and citizens gathered here today. And it's a crucial topic for the organization I lead, the World Bank Group. Your government's powerful platform, Kung Walang Kurap, Walang Mahirap, or No Corruption, No Poverty, affirms the inextricable link between poor governance and persistent poverty. While this seems obvious today, the link has not always been clearly acknowledged in development work. It was less than 20 years ago that then World Bank President James Wolfensohn helped ignite a global movement for transparency in governance when he spoke out against the cancer of corruption that cheats poor people of their share of the benefits of economic growth. Since President Wolfensohn's wake-up call, many countries have made progress in strengthening governance and curbing corruption. The Philippines has achieved notable gains to which many of you in this hall have contributed. But you also know that good governance is not easy. No country is immune from governance abuses, no matter how great that nation's wealth or deep its democratic traditions. Recent scandals in the United States, Italy, France, and other high-income democracies have brought us stern reminders of this fact. That's why it's so important that we set clear goals for governance, collect evidence as we experiment, and implement reforms, share experiences with one another. We have to refine and improve our work continually as economies, technology, and public expectations evolve. And this is why I'm so glad to be with you here this morning, because this conference is a space for exactly that kind of exchange. My remarks will focus on 3 major themes. First, I'll make the case that good governance is critical for development and ending poverty. Second, I'll present some practices that represent the cutting edge of governance reform today. And third, I'll tell you how the World Bank is changing so that we can help our clients be even more effective in building good governance. Like the Philippines, the World Bank Group explicitly recognizes that governance is critical for fighting poverty. Good governance means delivering public services effectively and efficiently. It means protecting citizens from violence and ensuring the rule of law. It means choosing wise policies and investments, maintaining public assets, and ensuring that civil servants are skilled, motivated, and have the tools to work effectively. It means directly confronting corruption so that citizens have faith in their leaders and systems. Today, good governance also requires fostering a transparent regulatory environment that will allow the private sector to create good jobs. In sum, good governance makes it possible for us to execute and deliver around our most cherished social goals: those that define how we want to live together as nations and as a global community. President Aquino, your 2010 Philippine Development Plan set forth two such goals: to attain inclusive growth, which you defined as the reduction of poverty, and to create jobs. In 2013, the World Bank Group also set two goals: to end extreme poverty worldwide by 2030, and to boost shared prosperity for the poorest 40% of the population in developing nations. The convergence between the Philippines' goals and those set out by the World Bank's Board of Governors is striking and no accident. Countries like the Philippines and institutions like the World Bank are allies in the great struggle of our generation, a global fight to end poverty and build inclusive prosperity while safeguarding the earth for those who will come after us. At its heart, this is a fight for wiser, more capable governance. It's now well established within the academic literature on institutions and growth that there's a strong positive correlation between the principles of good governance and a country's GDP per capita. As you, President Aquino, have so eloquently noted, good governance is good economics. The precise causal relationships are less well understood, but some recent studies have begun to confirm what many of us have long suspected, that effective institutions, or their absence, have an important impact on economic growth. There's plenty of evidence that corruption can deter private investment, and studies at the sectoral level have documented the perverse effect that corruption and weak administration can exert on education and health outcomes, or on the quality and selection of infrastructure projects. Some recent studies from the United States underscore that high levels of corruption are associated with increased inequality as well. We still have a lot to learn about the role of institutions in fostering development and reducing poverty. Knowledge about which reforms are most likely to succeed under specific circumstances remains fragmented, and the underlying conceptual and methodological challenges are significant. The World Bank Group is committed to supporting rigorous empirical efforts to address these critical questions. We also believe that the post-2015 development agenda should encourage countries to tackle governance challenges head-on, measure results, and share their data to build a stronger global knowledge base from which all will benefit. The cutting edge of governance reform is, in many ways, being rolled out right here in the Philippines. Let's take a moment to look broadly, but let me repeat, so many of the things that we are learning here in the Philippines will be important to share with countries all over the world. And some other countries are also on, we would call, the cutting edge of governance reform. Broadly, a transformational age of governance progress is dawning for countries with the courage to act. Around the world, the spread of information technology is converging with grassroots movements for transparency, accountability, and citizen empowerment. Under your leadership, President Aquino, the Philippines is absolutely in the forefront of this transformation. You've doubled government budgets for social services and made performance-informed budgeting the norm. Citizens increasingly see your conditional cash transfer, program, Pantawid Pamilya, as an instrument to realize their rights to education and health care. Your administration has also streamlined business regulations, bringing down the cost of doing business and reducing opportunities for corruption. Your open data initiative has reinforced accountability at all levels of government. For instance, the Philippines is now using electronic procurement technology to encourage citizens to be observers in all stages of the bidding process, and just recently started the use of geotagging. Similar tools are now being used to monitor assistance for people affected by Typhoon Yolanda. Your commitment to transparency is a beacon for the nations of East Asia and beyond. Other countries are also moving forward with innovative reforms, and here are just a few examples. In Colombia and other Latin American states, Rapid Assessment and Action Plans, or RAPs, are being used to improve public services at the subnational level. The RAP methodology diagnoses bureaucratic bottlenecks and provides public sector managers with a short and medium-term action plan for unblocking constraints to effective service delivery. In Pakistan, government departments in the Punjab are using smartphones to collect real-time data, including photos and geotags, on the activities of government field staff, helping to reduce absenteeism and lax performance. These examples highlight characteristics we see emerging in many successful governance initiatives around the world. I'll point out 4 such traits of these programs. First is the mobilization of teams that consist of experts in multiple disciplines to tackle the most complex problems. Second is the opening of space for citizen participation in administrative decision-making and the delivery of public services. Third is the harnessing of information technology, sometimes including inexpensive consumer devices in innovative ways. And finally is the fostering of practitioner-led networks supported by global institutions. For the moment, these ideas are in their infancy and have not yet been brought to scale. But I hope they may help guide your discussions in the course of this conference. At the World Bank Group, we've been privileged to contribute to several of the country initiatives I've just described. And today, we're reconfiguring our governance practice to serve countries better. Historically, the bank's governance work began in the early 1990s by focusing on core state functions such as public finance and civil service management. With the rise of the anti-corruption movement in the mid-1990s, we expanded to support new accountability institutions, the rule of law, and legal and judicial reform. We began working on demand-side governance issues as we deepened our engagement with civil society. This evolution continues today, spurred by events like the Arab Spring that again have shown what happens when people's demands for accountability and participation go unheard. We've also stepped up our efforts to address corruption in programs we support by encouraging corruption reporting in our projects, investigating and sanctioning entities that resort to fraud and corruption, and working with sanctioned firms to improve their integrity compliance standards. In the near future, important drivers for change are likely to be the use of mobile technologies for monitoring service delivery, cloud computing and the use of big data, improved domestic revenue mobilization, and greater transparency around the extractive industries. To align ourselves with the demands of our clients and the rapidly evolving technological breakthroughs, the bank's approach has evolved. The days of static best practice recipes are long gone. Increasingly, we're tapping into our interdisciplinary expertise and our capacity to nurture collaborative partnerships within and across regions. We support a growing number of peer-to-peer learning networks, such as the Public Expenditure Management Network for Asia and the Global Initiative for Fiscal Transparency. We continue to generate robust empirical data, and we're working to capture lessons from the experience of our frontline implementers. Previously undocumented, tacit knowledge is now being collected, and we hope widely shared. These approaches have helped many of our clients make impressive gains in governance, but we can do more. Over the past 6 months, the bank's internal structural reform has created the conditions for a qualitative leap in our capacity to support countries, especially in terms of the governance process. Previously, our knowledge was not moving fast enough or reaching the right people at the right time. For example, our staff in East Asia didn't talk enough to their counterparts in South Asia. Our new organizational structure in 14 global practices is breaking down old geographical and disciplinary silos. The result will be greater fluidity in knowledge sharing and collaboration. Our governance global practice exemplifies the model. It will be the largest of the new global practices with around 800 staff. It will pull together experts from backgrounds including public sector reform, financial management, legal reform, social accountability, information management, tax and revenue mobilization, and regulatory policy, among others. Its structure will allow us to rapidly mobilize the bank's global expertise across many disciplines. To put it simply, President Aquino, the bank's governance global practice is here to learn from your achievements and help you accomplish even more. We will work with you to identify and implement practical solutions to your toughest governance challenges. And we'll support the measurement and global dissemination of your results to speed progress in other countries. Before concluding, I'd like to turn my remarks briefly to the Filipino community within the World Bank family. We're privileged to employ nearly 400 Filipinos and Filipinas, who constitute the 6th largest nationality represented at the World Bank Group. Recently, all of us lost a dear friend, colleague, and lifelong crusader for the cause of good governance, Jose Edgardo Campos, or Ed, as he was known by his many friends. Ed was a pillar in the governance and public sector community within the bank. He held a number of high-profile positions, most recently as manager for the World Bank Institute's leadership program. Always striving to make a difference, Ed took several years away from his bank career to return and work for the government of the Philippines, where he played an instrumental role in helping to secure passage of the 2003 Government Procurement Reform Act. In his memory, I'm pleased to announce that the new governance global practice will create the Jose Edgardo Campos Award. This award will honor bank staff who follow in Ed's footsteps by returning to their countries of origin to advance the cause of governance reform. Finally, I want to come back to the theme of partnership and to a related idea that may seem more old-fashioned, that of service. The partnership between the Philippines and the World Bank Group is strong. It is founded on common goals and values. Above all, on our commitment to a model of shared prosperity powered by ordinary people's capacity for entrepreneurship, creativity, and resilience. I saw the impact of these qualities yesterday when I visited the Leyte region with Secretary Dinky. 8 months ago, the region bore the assault of Typhoon Yolanda. Today, there's still much to be done in the reconstruction efforts, but I believe recovery is gaining the upper hand on the storm's destruction. The physical scars remain visible, and nothing can replace the storm's cost in human lives. But when I met people in Leyte, I encountered not bitterness, but resilience, a spirit of solidarity, and a determination to look forward rather than back. Their attitude reinforced my conviction that when ordinary people unite, we can overcome any obstacle. The only limits to our achievement are the limits of our solidarity, the limits of our willingness to invest ourselves without reserve in action toward a common goal. Let's honor the Leyte survivors by emulating their courage in our own work. Let's build a world where people's vulnerability to disasters is no longer determined primarily by their income level. Let's build institutions that respond to the slow emergency of poverty with the same intensity as the sudden shock of a typhoon. Let's redefine the limits of the possible together. In the beginning of the speech, I spoke of the many Koreans who now are here in the Philippines. Well, I just want to say, President Aquino, that this Korean believes in you, believes in this country, it's a very promising future. Once again, in my newfound Tagalog, mula sa isang kapuso at isang kapamilya. Maraming salamat po.